Welcome back to Narrations. This is a story about imagination, not as something playful or fanciful, but as something necessary. About how stories can become shelters when life grows unbearable, and how believing in something unreal can sometimes be the only way to survive what is painfully real. It's about grief that has no language, and about how children, when truly listened to, can change the adults who dare to meet them where they are. This is the story of Finding Neverland. James Matthew Barrie's life appears successful in every visible way. He is a respected playwright in early 20th century London, known for clever, well-structured plays that entertain polite audiences and satisfy critics. His name carries weight. His work fills theaters. Applause follows him wherever he goes. And yet, when the curtains close and the audience leaves, Barrie feels hollow. The stories no longer stay with him. They no longer comfort him. They feel finished the moment they are told. At home, his marriage to Sylvia Barrie reflects this same quiet emptiness. Sylvia wants a life shaped by closeness, children, shared routines, emotional presence. Barrie, however, seems unable to inhabit that world. When she reaches for him, he retreats inward. He is not cruel. He is not indifferent. He is simply elsewhere. Their house is calm and emotionally distant. Barrie's only real refuge is Kensington Gardens. Each day, he walks there with his large Saint Bernard, Porthos, letting the rhythm of footsteps and open air quiet his mind. The park hums with life, children running, nannies scolding, laughter rising and falling like music. Barrie watches closely, not as a spectator, but as someone listening for something he cannot yet name. One afternoon, his attention fixes on four boys immersed in a pirate battle. They are not half-playing. They are completely committed. Wooden sticks become swords. A patch of grass becomes a ship. Their voices create enemies and victories with absolute conviction. Barrie stops walking. Instead of smiling indulgently and moving on, he steps closer. He asks questions. Not the kind meant to interrupt, the kind meant to deepen the game. Who is the captain? What happens if the ship sinks? Where do pirates go when they lose? The boys hesitate. Adults don't usually speak to them like this. Slowly, cautiously, they let Barrie into their world. They are the Davies boys. George, Jack, Peter, and Michael. George, the eldest, carries responsibility heavily, already trying to be the man of the family. Jack hides behind sarcasm and humor, using wit as armor. Michael lives entirely in imagination, desperate to play, to pretend, to escape. Peter stands apart. Peter does not play. He watches with guarded eyes, arms crossed, refusing to join. Barrie notices immediately. This is not boredom. It is resistance. Peter has lost his father, and to him, play feels like betrayal, as if joy might erase memory. Barrie does not force him. He lets Peter watch. Their mother, Sylvia Llewellyn Davies, sits nearby, observing carefully. Widowed and quietly exhausted by grief, she is cautious of strangers. But Barrie is different. He does not patronize her children. He does not talk over them. He treats their thoughts as meaningful. When Barrie speaks to Sylvia, it is with gentleness rather than charm. Their conversations unfold naturally, shaped by shared understanding rather than flirtation. Over time, Sylvia allows Barrie into their lives, first through the park, then into their home. Barrie brings stories with him. Not rehearsed stories, living ones. Stories that change depending on which boy is listening. If Michael wants fairies, they appear. If Jack mocks sentimentality, pirates grow sharper. If Peter resists fantasy, Barrie does not insist. Instead, he waits. He begins to understand each child deeply. Michael clings to imagination because reality feels unsafe. Jack jokes to avoid vulnerability. George shoulders responsibility too early. Peter refuses joy because he believes loving something means losing it. And Sylvia watches all of this unfold with quiet awe. Barrie is not distracting her sons from grief. He is giving them a language for it. As Barrie spends more time with the Davies family, his imagination awakens in a way it hasn't for years. Ideas follow him home. Characters begin forming, not as clever inventions, but as emotional responses. A boy who refuses to grow up. A place where mothers never die. A land where loss cannot follow. Neverland is not whimsical. It is protective. Barrie begins writing again with urgency. The work feels alive, necessary. His producer and theater partners are alarmed. The play is strange, fragmented, filled with flying children, pirates, fairies, an emotion that cannot be neatly explained. They worry it will fail. Barrie does not argue. He knows it already matters. At the same time, tension at home worsens. Sylvia Barrie grows increasingly resentful of her husband's emotional absence and the attention he gives elsewhere. Barrie cannot explain what he is building, not because he is hiding something, but because he himself is only beginning to understand it. The marriage fractures quietly. Meanwhile, Sylvia Davies' health begins to decline. The boys sense it before words are spoken. Their games grow more elaborate, more urgent. Michael refuses to stop pretending. Peter withdraws further, convinced that caring too deeply will only lead to more pain. Barrie watches helplessly. He understands now that Neverland is not just a story. It is a promise. Not that loss will disappear, but that it can be faced together. And as the play takes shape, Barrie realizes something both beautiful and terrifying. Once a story like this exists, it no longer belongs to its creator. It belongs to the children who needed it. The play begins to take over Barrie's life. Not in the way success usually does, not with confidence or certainty, but with urgency. He writes late into the night, revising scenes not for logic, but for feeling. He thinks constantly of the Davies boys, of Michael's delight, Jack's skepticism, George's forced maturity, and Peter's quiet resistance. Each child leaves a trace in the story, shaping Neverland not as a fantasy playground, but as an emotional refuge. Barrie's producer, Charles Frohman, worries openly now. The play is unconventional. The tone shifts unexpectedly. Children fly. Pirates sing. Fairies exist only if the audience believes hard enough. Investors question whether adults will tolerate something so openly childlike, so emotionally exposed. Barrie listens, and then ignores them. He insists that the play must be staged exactly as written, not softened, not explained, not justified. The audience must be asked to believe first and understand later. As rehearsals begin, Barrie becomes deeply involved, watching closely as actors struggle to balance whimsy with sincerity. He corrects small gestures, encourages risk, and pushes performers to abandon irony. This story, he believes, cannot survive cynicism. Meanwhile, Sylvia Davies' health continues to worsen. The boys are told fragments of the truth, but they already know more than the adults suspect. They feel the weight of uncertainty in the pauses between conversations, in the careful way people speak around their mother. Games become longer, louder, more elaborate, as if imagination might hold time and place. Peter withdraws further. He refuses to engage with Barrie's story about Peter Pan. He rejects the idea outright. To him, a boy who never grows up feels cruel rather than magical. Growing up, after all, is what allows people to remember, to honor what was lost. Barrie does not argue. He waits. Opening night arrives with tension thick in the theater. The audience is restless, unsure what to expect. Children squirm in their seats. Adults exchange skeptical glances. Backstage, actors fidget, uncertain whether they are about to embarrass themselves. Then the curtain rises. And something extraordinary happens. Laughter breaks out, not polite laughter, but spontaneous delight. Gasps ripple through the crowd as children fly across the stage. Adults lean forward despite themselves. The story unfolds not as a novelty, but as an invitation to remember what it felt like to believe completely. Barrie watches from the wings, heart pounding. When the audience is asked to clap if they believe in fairies, something inside him tightens. He understands now that belief is not passive. It is chosen. And watching hundreds of people choose belief together feels overwhelming. The play is a success. But success feels strangely irrelevant. Because Sylvia Davies is dying. Barrie spends as much time as he can with her and the boys, knowing that no story, no matter how powerful, can rewrite what is coming. He brings the play to Sylvia in the only way he can, not as a performance, but as comfort. Actors visit her bedside. Scenes are reenacted quietly. Neverland comes to her not as spectacle, but as presence. Sylvia watches, smiling faintly. She understands what Barrie has given her children. Not escape. Continuity. When Sylvia dies, the loss is devastating. The boys retreat into silence, each processing grief in their own way. Michael clings to imagination more tightly than ever. Jack grows sharper, more guarded. George steps further into responsibility. Peter breaks. For the first time, he allows himself to feel anger. At Barrie, at stories, at the world that promised wonder and delivered loss anyway. He confronts Barrie directly, accusing him of lying. Of pretending that imagination could protect them. Barrie listens. And then, gently, he responds, not with defense, but with honesty. Neverland was never meant to replace reality. It was meant to help them face it. Something shifts in Peter then. Not acceptance, but understanding. He realizes that refusing to believe does not honor his father, or his mother. It only isolates him from those who share his grief. Peter opens the book. He reads. And for the first time, he allows himself to imagine not a world without loss, but a world where love continues beyond it. Barrie's marriage dissolves quietly. There is no dramatic confrontation, only the acknowledgement that they were never meant to inhabit the same emotional space. Barrie accepts this without resistance. He has learned now that forcing life into shape only fractures it further. The Davies boys remain part of Barrie's life. He does not replace their parents. He walks beside them. As time passes, Peter Pan takes on a life of its own. It becomes a story told and retold, loved by generations who never knew the grief that shaped it. Audiences laugh. Children believe. Adults remember. And Barrie understands something essential. Stories do not stop pain. They do not erase loss. But they give us a way to carry it. Finding Neverland is a story about how imagination can become an act of love. About how belief does not deny reality, it helps us endure it. It reminds us that growing up does not mean abandoning wonder, and that sometimes, the most truthful stories are the ones that dare to be gentle. If you enjoyed listening to this story, please like the video, share it with someone who loves emotionally rich films like this, and subscribe for more narrations.